Hey everybody, welcome back to the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. It is time for an NFL draft breakdown spectacular. It is going to be brought to you. How do you like that?
It's good.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Brought to you by Card Collector 2 in Grove City. Shout out to Ryan Johnson and his crew for supplying the fuel for the draft breakdown. It is brand new Bowman's Best U. Each of us grabbed a box of that, and we are going to open that and talk about some draft prospects for Ohio State. We'll see. There's a couple of those Buckeyes in here. C.J. Stroud, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Who else is in this? Jack Sawyer.
Julian Fleming.
Zach Harrison. So some Buckeyes that will be drafted tonight or this weekend. We'll talk about that during the show. And then a lot of other draft prospects for this year and then next year. So that's Berm and Bill Landis. And I'm Austin Ward. So let's get into it. Berm's already opened one box, so he'll open his first mini box.
I have not opened the box. I just took off the cellophane because
that's the wrapped part.
Because I don't like the sound. I'm not into that ASMR stuff that you are, where you have to just listen to the cellophane.
It's not about listening to it. It's about having sealed product. And you see how this is.
This one's still sealed.
You ever just listen to your cellophane?
This one's still sealed. And see, this is what I was hoping to avoid. My dexterity sometimes is just a little suspect. These things just don't want to come off. As we're getting ready for this draft tonight, we expect, 3 Ohio State players to come off the board on Thursday night at least. And those guys, what interesting paths to get here. I mean, obviously, CJ and Jackson, both in the class of 2020. And I can't open it. You see, all 3 of these guys in the class of 2020, and when we look back on Paris.
It's kind of crazy they only spent 3 years.
Yeah, Paris we knew from Jump Street was going to be a day one pick of the NFL draft. The first time that he became an Ohio State target in the recruiting world, I mean, he was already a 5-star player. He committed to Urban Meyer super early. I remember the night he committed to Ohio State, it was actually the day before I was heading out to Oregon for the opening in 2018. And it happened 10:40 at night, and I had a 6 a.m. flight. And I got a text message from someone saying, hey, by the way, Paris Johnson just came in. I thought, oh, crap. I had to get out of bed, pull my computer back out of my bag. Very annoying, Paris. That was just, if we can go back in time. Kids, don't commit at 10:40 at night.
Well, there's a lot of history with those 3 guys, starting with that Paris Johnson story that you told. You and I, so Jackson Smith-Njigba, once upon a time, was doing a senior diary.
Senior tackle
for us, or for you. And you were getting to know him a lot during his senior year in high school. I don't think he ever missed a deadline, so responsible character there. And then we went out to Rancho Cucamonga and had an entertaining experience watching a program that does not operate at nearly the same level as Ohio State with C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, C.J., remember seeing him that first time and just how skinny he was, watching him throw, and wearing number 7. We're it kind of just reminds me of Dwayne a little bit, just the way he threw the ball. And you expected talking to him, because I really hadn't dealt with CJ much via text or on the phone until after that, because sometimes that in-person meeting opens up the line of conversation a lot more than you'd think. But he was just so normal and laid back about everything. I'm your entire life, you were deciding between Ohio State, Georgia, and Michigan, essentially. And your entire life is in front of you, and you're just whatever.
I don't think he'd realized how much it had changed or was going to change at that point.
We've got Tavian Thomas from Dayton, Ohio.
That's right. He's not. He's in this draft. Yeah, he is.
Israel Abakanda,
also in this draft.
Oh, Berm's off to a hot start.
This Caleb Williams. I don't know which variant this is, but
speckle refractor.
Speckle refractor, whatever that means.
I like the one behind it.
Sounds nice.
Oh, look at this first pack. We're roaring through exactly with what you're looking for.
Campus captains of C.J. Stroud. 2-time Heisman finalist.
He was a captain on this campus.
Was a captain.
He sure was.
And, I think that it's going to be weird, not having CJ around here a little bit, because even though he's only been here 3 years, it seems like because he was a 2-year starter and we knew him from recruiting, I feel like that relationship has been a lot longer than, Justin. Yeah. Justin was a 2-year starter here too, but it didn't feel like he really knew Justin very well. CJ, I felt like we knew him pretty darn well.
Yeah, well, Justin only spent those 2 years here as well. Even just one extra year for CJ made a big difference developing and coming along there. You better just start opening the packs. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure the structure.
There's no
the
reason
mini
to
box.
delay
I
here.
think we each just got to open the box
There's no reason to delay.
as we're
All
going.
right, Bill. Where do you think CJ is going to go on Thursday night?
Man, I don't know. Like, I go back and forth on it. I don't think he's going to get past 4 at the Colts, but I also think this Houston, we're not necessarily going to take a quarterback stuff, is a little bit of a smokescreen. I don't know who the smokescreen is for because they picked second. So, but there's an interesting conversation there, right? Do you like this class, or do you like the guys coming next year with like Caleb Williams and Drake May? But I have a really hard time seeing an opportunity with a quarterback like CJ on the board at number 2 if you're Houston and not taking him. So I think Bryce Young is going to go 1, and I think right now on Thursday afternoonish, I think CJ is going to go number 2.
We got our first auto over here. Another Ohio kid, Jaden Reed, Michigan State wide receiver. One of my favorite receivers in this draft if I was picked, forced to choose. Just like his game a lot. Dominated the Big Ten.
We hit a speckle refractor of an offensive lineman, so that goes in the Bill pile.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Bill,
J.C. Latham.
Bill PC's offensive lineman.
He
folks,
sure does.
Even ones that spurned Ohio State for Alabama in the recruiting process.
That's actually all my collection is just
Yeah.
a bunch of offensive linemen who've decided not to come here.
See, remember, Bill, everyone knows that you're anti-Ohio State at heart, so
That's right.
you're just leaning into that.
It's too bad you've just devoted your life to covering this team.
Yeah.
Keely
It's
Ringo,
unfortunate.
what
What's
did
that
I-
gunslinger there?
Trevor
Just a little bit of
Etienne.
an insert here with Bo Nix. I mean, not the best guy in the world, but it's got a die cut. Looks like an old Wanted poster in the Old West, and they got a Sam Hartman, campus captains. We'll be seeing him in September. Notre Dame quarterback.
It's a different campus.
They photoshopped him too, because
He's not been a Notre Dame captain.
he has not played a game for Notre Dame just yet, but they photoshopped Sam Hartman to
This is the
Irish
weirdest
uniform.
parallel name I've ever seen. Neon Neophyte.
Yeah, we saw some of that in Grove City
Not
when
sure.
the product came out. I was like, Neophyte is a weird name for an insert because I thought that would be like more of an insult.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like the way I'd want to go there.
I think it doesn't have to be, but I feel like it's most often used as
I
an
think
insult.
that there's just too much of a focus on alliterating when it comes to like naming parallels in cards. Also, I
That
put
was
the
an
emphasis
insert
on
and
the wrong
not,
syllable.
not a parallel. But
I've got an auto coming. Oh, the J.C. Latham refractor.
somebody's building the rainbow.
See. Trayshawn Holden.
Not the one
William
you're
Lund.
looking for.
Former Alabama
Also,
signee.
it's interesting that these guys, so he transferred to Oregon, and he's in his Oregon uniform despite never playing a game there yet.
Well, those
we have
photo shoots happen. early.
Will Levis, I don't know, might be a refractor. Who cares? I can't wait to see which team wastes their draft taking that project on.
So what do you guys, like, do you think, as we sit here now, do you think CJ is going to go ahead of Will Levis and Anthony? Assuming Bryce Young is going to go first. Is CJ the second quarterback off the board?
Oh,
Speaking of Bryce Young,
Mason Smith auto, another one that we're really excited to see.
Bryce
I know.
Young.
Our friend Ryan Ginn will be happy to receive that one
Bowman
in the mail.
masterpieces of Bryce Young, who's likely to be the top pick tonight.
I don't think he's going to be the top.
I know you don't, but he's very likely to be. And
I think he's definitely going to be the top pick.
I
Definitely?
I don't
Yeah.
think he should be. I think we've talked about that enough over the last few months to really. I don't know how you stack up him and CJ side by side and pick Bryce over CJ. I just don't.
Hey, Jack Sawyer.
Oh, there we go.
But I think that is what will happen.
Hey, Mason Smith.
Unless the Panthers have this whole, CJ Stroud, no matter what, folded up piece of paper in their pocket.
Yeah.
And they sent 13 people from their organization here for the pro day?
Yeah, but they went to everywhere. They went to wherever, all 4 top quarterbacks, I think. I mean, there definitely was a time where it seemed like it was a slam dunk. And I don't know if you trust the betting odds. It seems quite unlikely.
Reddit says it's not going to be
It seems
Bryce
quite
Young.
unlikely that CJ's going to be a
I
first
just, back-to-back cards, received both of the twins of the Adamola twins from Notre Dame, Jason and Justin.
Oh, here he is as well, Jason. Lola? All right, cool. Neon Neophytes for Eli Ricks. He made it into the Woody,
pick. Yeah, I
folks.
got an Eli Ricks too, Ohio State legend.
He's here.
Here's a Aqua refractor of Ronnie Bell.
Oh.
I got a nice speckle campus captains of Jackson Dart, who was one of 19 scholarship quarterbacks on Ole Miss's roster.
Where's our Ryan
Can never
Ginn
have too
pile?
many.
Hey, I got a campus captains of CJ Stroud.
Everybody's got
Take
their
that.
CJ but me so far.
That's right.
The thing about like these really short print lists, or like short lists of who the guys are in the set, if you buy a box or two of these, you're pretty much going to get everyone at some point if you're chasing individual players.
Here you go. This one's for Berm. Refractor of Toledo quarterback Daquan Finn.
Hey, Daquan.
I can't believe he's still at Toledo. They should have been photoshopping him into some other jersey by
Michigan
now.
State, yeah.
It's still time.
Will Anderson Bowman masterpieces.
Did you pop the auto?
I hit the Mason Smith.
Mason Smith, okay.
Yeah, I'm
No one has gotten rich yet off the
getting
autos.
quite crushed so far. Cam Rising, another Ohio State legend, refractor.
I was looking at
Madison fight song. This is a cool parallel.
I was looking at some
Insert
mock
whatever you wanna
drafts
call it.
on Thursday morning, as I want to do. And so mockdraftdatabase.com is what it sounds like. It compiles every mock draft they can find and spits out a consensus. It had CJ at 2 to Houston and Jackson Smith and Jigba at 12 to Houston. What do you guys think of the prospect of getting the band back together in the NFL?
I think that'd be the best case scenario for Houston if they can do both. I think there's a lot more momentum for Jackson to rise up. There was talk about Green Bay getting in that pick swap to be at 13, that they may be targeting Jackson. I think there are a lot of teams that are hoping that he slides just enough to them. Like there was he's not going to be a first round talk 2 or 3 months ago, and now everyone else is fully on board that Jackson is probably the wide receiver you want in this draft.
There was also a lot of buzz in the last couple of days that the Jets with Aaron Rodgers may try to take him at
Saw that too, yeah. 15, I think it is.
I think they might be talking. I mean, he's certainly not going to be there at 15, I don't think. So I think they'd have to move up. But did you see the conversation on Thursday morning, about the Titans moving up to 3 and potentially trading with Arizona?
For CJ or for Paris?
Well, they say for a quarterback is what they
For a Buckeye.
Of course, what they talk about is the quarterbacks, but I really do think it's going to be for Paris Johnson if that happens. And that's why, earlier this week I said I thought Paris is going to go ahead of CJ. I wouldn't be surprised if they went 3-4 in that scenario. Paris to Tennessee at 3 and CJ at 4 to Indy.
I can see that. I do think it feels like Paris's odds, I think, to be number 3, I think have gone up considerably in the last 48 hours. It does seem like there's a lot of buzz for him to potentially be the first Buckeye off the board, which was your prediction, was it not, Berm?
Yeah, I don't think that there's been enough discussion as this draft has been unfolding about the tackles. Everyone talks so much about the quarterbacks, and that's understandable, but outside of the quarterback position, is there any spot in the NFL that's more important than having a locked up tackle for a decade?
No, there's not. And I think with this group too, there's 4 that I think you feel really good about. Or I don't even know if really good is probably wrong, but it's Paris Johnson, it's Darnell Wright, it's Broderick Jones, and Peter Skronsky, who might not even be a tackle in the NFL.
Yeah.
And honestly, of that group, I think Broderick Jones is probably a left tackle. But Skronsky is a potential guard or tackle. Darnell Wright is a right tackle in the NFL. I think Paris being the prototypical left tackle in a group that probably leaves a little something to be desired can boost him up as we get closer to it.
We've talked about those first-round picks a lot over the last couple of weeks, so we'll take a break. We're going to talk to Ryan Johnson in Grove City. Yeah, I'm going to transport there right now, and then we'll be right back to finish off this NFL draft breakdown. All right, we're taking a break from the break. Getting ready for the NFL draft with the man who's bringing it all to you, making it possible, Ryan Johnson, Card Collector 2. We are in Grove City, and I think that this is probably one of your favorite holidays, right?
Yeah, the NFL draft is something, as a card collector, you really look forward to all year. It's the time where the guys that have college cards now also have pro teams that collect them. So just seeing the Buckeyes, you've watched on Saturday go pro, but also seeing all of these other guys now have NFL followings, it's a special time.
I know you've already been working to add the C.J. Stroud and the Jackson Smith and Jigba stuff to the PC for you. How much has it grown in the last couple months, especially now that you can get product with Buckeye leaves actually on it?
Yeah, it's definitely helped the last few months with some of the newer product that, like you said, has the Buckeye leaves, because they really didn't have that kind of stuff before. So with some of the new products, it definitely makes collecting them a lot tougher, because I feel like the amount of people that's also looking for that stuff has grown substantially and will only continue to grow, right? As Stroud and Jackson and some of those guys get drafted. Again, they also have an NFL following to chase that stuff as well.
Are you nervous to find out where CJ's going or where Jackson's going?
I don't know if nervous is the right word, but it's as we get closer to the draft, it seems that the games are mattering less and less, and somebody being able to throw a football on their knees is a lot more intriguing to people. So I'm hoping that doesn't play too much into it. I'm a Patriots fan, and I've heard that Jackson may end up in New England, so fingers crossed that happens. But yeah, just excited to see where they go next.
Where do you think CJ will go? You're on the spot now.
Yeah, I think it's a smokescreen. I really do. I do think CJ will go 2. So I'm going to say Houston takes him at 2.
Okay. Who's somebody else that you have your eye on from this Buckeyes class? Cam Brown's been in here.
Yep.
We're going to work on that throughout the weekend on the podcast with him. Hopefully Friday or Saturday he gets a call. Somebody else from this Buckeyes class that could be intriguing, you think? Yeah,
Ronnie Rocket Hickman comes to mind. He's been in here before. I like him, so curious to see where he goes. But Zach Harrison, right? The production he had last year, measuring off the charts. I'm excited to see where he ends up and what he does at the next level.
So what all do you have planned for NFL Draft Weekend for the card collectors and Card Collector 2?
Yeah, so we obviously have the new product that is out this weekend. So we are going to have a little promo and shop with that for anybody that listens to the podcast. If they come in this weekend and mention the podcast, we'll give $10 off any hobby box purchase in store.
Wow.
You just have to have to mention the podcast. But again, we got a lot of new product in for those guys. So I've got a few different opportunities to chase the Buckeyes like Stroud and Jackson, and then also some of the other big names in the draft like Levis and Stroud and Bijan Robinson and stuff like that.
And later on Thursday night, whatnot, some stuff going on there?
Yeah, we've got a little break going on, so we're going to rip a little Bowman Bowman's Best, then some Bowman Chrome. Some of the newer products, again, we've talked about repeatedly. We're going to rip some of that stuff and hopefully hit some big stuff. So it's over on our Whatnot channel.
You don't get to keep that stuff. That's the problem for you. So you're going to see some CJ coming out there that you won't get to keep. That'll be...
Yeah, I've ripped a little bit so far. So I've pulled a couple of them. But yeah, there'll definitely be some cool hits, but unfortunately nothing we'll get to keep.
All right. For those who need to follow you on Instagram or YouTube or Twitter, where can they do that?
Yeah, just Card Collector 2. Anywhere and everywhere online, it's Card Collector 2.
All right, do that. We appreciate Ryan, as always, for having us down here in the shop in Grove City and making this break possible. Back to the cards. All right, welcome back into the Woody. Thanks to Ryan Johnson again. Don't miss that deal. We're going to put it out on our social media channels as well, just as a reminder. The rest of this weekend, as the NFL draft goes on, you can go down to Grove City, visit Ryan and his team, and get $10 off any hobby box as long as you mention the podcast. So
does that apply to us?
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you be mentioning the podcast, Bill? You're going in, it's going to be on your shirt. So
I mention it everywhere I go. I go to Kroger, like, hey, the podcast.
It's like, does that get me $10 off? No.
Are these bananas cheaper now? No.
No, but cards will be. Yeah, just pop on in. There's another draft prospect walking right through the Woody right there.
Here's the base CJ Stroud.
More CJ popping. All right.
I'm going to assume that the auto is in the second pack again, like it was the first time, and set that one aside and do it last.
So Ryan did ask me an interesting question that he wanted us to get more into. What do we think? We've talked about how many guys could go in the first round. We know that it's likely to be 3, could be 4. Don't think Zach Harrison will be able to make it 5 the way maybe he could have if he'd worked out and really dazzled some people. But his question was, how many Buckeyes overall will be drafted? And that was a little bit trickier question to answer.
Yeah. My guess is 7, but I think it could be 6. So it's the 3 first rounders. Zach, DeJuan Jones, and Luke Whippler are all going to get drafted. And then it's like, the more you think about Ronnie Hickman, it's like, I think he'll get drafted, but like he didn't do anything in the pre-draft process.
Yeah.
And think about like some of the draft history here, like Jordan Fuller, who in my opinion was a better college player than Ronnie Hickman, was like a borderline 7th round pick.
Right.
I don't know. Like I can kind of see him potentially not getting drafted. I'm not 100% convinced that Cameron Brown is getting drafted. And then if those 2 aren't, I don't think Jerron Gage is. I don't think Teron Vincent is. So then you're at 6. So I think I'll say 7, but I can see 6 happening.
There seems to be a healthy amount of respect for Ronnie Hickman amongst NFL people. And I think we probably, like if we go back to week 6 a year ago, the conversation about him is totally different and you're thinking 3rd or 4th round pick. But the second half of the season was
I think the conversation was even higher in the first month of the year. Like
second half of the season was so inconsistent that you wonder. And then the lack of activity in the draft process, at least for public activity. I mean, we don't know what he did workout-wise at different franchises and stuff like that. But I'd be shocked if Ronnie doesn't get drafted. Maybe higher. I'm thinking maybe 5th or 6th, probably 5th round.
You think he'll get drafted higher than Jordan Fuller?
I think he will, just because physically he has a higher upside than Jordan.
He's shown more versatility on film.
Yeah,
He's played in the box.
He's the type of guy that he's big enough to maybe, as the NFL switches a little bit to playing some of these hybrid type positions, Ronnie could be that type of guy at 6'2", 220, where you could put him into a linebacker-ish role and let him go from there. I got my second auto is Jermaine Burton, who's also in his new jersey after transferring from the national champion Georgia Bulldogs to Alabama. He's been photoshopped into his Crimson Tide uni. Cam Brown's the one. Obviously, we're doing the podcast, the documentary with him on his process, and we're going to be in St. Louis. Spoiler alert, to spend that time with him and his mom and see how that unfolds. But the draft process for him did not go as well as it could have, and I do wonder, if not being able to really run full speed or not maybe adapting to the weight his body put on in this offseason, and having it reflect on the field is going to be something that really hurts him.
Yeah, I think you look at the fact that he got to take so many visits. The NFL teams flew him out for those individual meetings afterwards, and not everybody gets invited to the combine. That means that there's multiple teams that want to have you go through the process, being invited to the Shrine Bowl and being, interviewed and evaluated there. Like, Cam Brown had more opportunities to be in front of NFL teams than just about any prospect, really, even at Ohio State. I know they're picking apart, CJ and all that stuff, but Cam had the maximum amount. Guys like, as Bill said, Teron Vincent and Jerron Cage had none of those outside of Pro Day, really. So I think there's a great deal of interest in Cam Brown. Obviously, there's going to be risk and reward for those teams. I think when you start talking about the later rounds, teams will see the upside on film, the way he played against the Peach Bowl, some other times when he was healthy, and they'll be like, well, this seems like the right time to make that gamble compared to, say, a starter at the MAC level or, group of 5 level. I think that will set him apart. We have to be realistic about it, that he is not a slam dunk pick because of the injury history. But if once you're talking about risk reward late in the draft, I think that's the time that teams will probably pounce. They wouldn't necessarily want to risk losing him as an undrafted free agent, in my mind.
Yeah, I think the question for me just comes back to, is there enough good film? Mm-hmm. And I think you can make the argument that there's enough intriguing stuff there that you might want to take a flyer on. There's a little gold there.
You got some gold.
It's
a Sparty.
I got a blue Drew Aller color match. At a 150.
This Drew Aller.
Wow, Drew Allers are hot
Drew
right
Allers
now.
are popping out.
And we've got Jaden Reed all over the place. We've got Jaden Reed, gold lava to 75. Oh, and his old friend,
this is a number
Peyton Thorne,
right
right
all
behind
the blue aquas, or as all the aquas are, I think.
Aqua lava. I don't know. I think a healthy Cam Brown provides you upside as a special team or two, and teams see the value in that and will draft that if they think a guy can do a little bit of both. I just wish the pre-draft process has gone a little better for him. You would have.
So do we.
Yeah,
it would have made for a lot better documentary.
I think it's compelling either way, right? Because I almost think guys in Cam's situation are more interesting than the slam dunk first round picks. There's just so much hanging in the air, but it just seemed like there was an opportunity there to maybe like shed that injury bug moniker that I think follows him, and it just kept nipping at his heels as he was going through the process.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting
Kept us from a trip to Vegas too.
Yeah.
probably better for the wallet. What's really interesting about this class is that you could be talking 6-7 guys drafted, but next year they're already early projections with Ohio State having 8 first-round picks.
Yeah, that's insane.
In next year's draft.
Which is insane. Seems like a lot.
It seems too many. But if you look ahead, I mean, we obviously fully expect Marvin Harrison will be the first Ohio State player off the board.
I think he'll be the first non-quarterback. in the whole draft.
It's going to be tough to supplant Caleb Williams.
I think Caleb Williams will go 1, and I would expect to see Marvin at number 2.
Drake May's up there too, or will be, I think.
But the reality is, there is outside of the quarterback position.
Who all do they have there? So Marvin,
Emeka,
Donovan Jackson,
Travion Henderson,
JT Tuimoloau,
Mike Hall, Jack Sawyer, and Tyleek Williams is what I saw.
Yeah.
In a mock on Wednesday.
Okay.
Now, obviously, that'd be crazy, which would break an NFL draft record for most first-round picks from one team. But we got to...
Oof. Bowman's best
Junior
Bandits, Colson. Junior Colson.
I've got my auto here. Should I pop it? My second auto.
Sweat it.
Zach Harrison.
Oh, no.
Nice.
Look at him go.
Saw that Buckeye logo, got real excited.
It's got that Woody magic going.
That's right.
But, I mean, you look at next year's lineup and you wonder, I think you head into this season for Ohio State and it feels like there's such huge questions at the offensive line and the uncertainty of quarterback with a new guy that's unproven. But, like, this roster, when Ryan Day signed that class in 2021, that was the most talented class he signed at Ohio State without question.
Yeah.
And now you have, of that group of 8, all 8 of them are from that class because Denzel Burke was on the list too.
Yep.
All 8 of those players were in the class of 2021. That's
oh my
It's
God.
not ideal for the program if all those guys leave after 3 years.
Why?
Eli Ricks.
This is like the 4th Ricks card that was in this box.
Ohio State legend.
Oh gosh.
So we talk about
And another Jaden Reed.
what is next at Ohio State, and that the class of 2022, which was certainly a little bit smaller. The class of 2023, talented but smaller, only 20 guys. Like this window for really making hay looks like this year is there for Ohio State, as long as they get somebody to protect the quarterback and a quarterback that's going to be what Ohio State quarterbacks have been. Does Kyle McCord make himself into a first-round pick discussion for a year from now?
If he's the starter, and
we've seen it happen before, so I think it's possible. I'm trying to remember what the circumstances were in Dwayne's year and like what the thought was coming into that season as far as who the top quarterbacks were. I can't remember. Like, I don't think Kyle's got an opportunity to vault himself to being the best quarterback with Caleb Williams and Drake May out there, but first rounder, yeah. I mean, he's probably going to throw 45 touchdown passes as Ohio State starter for 3,000 yards. Like, it's an offense that produces NFL caliber quarterbacks. So it's on the table. I don't think I'd bet on it, but it's on the table.
yeah, I don't think it was pretty clear after Dwayne's season that the opportunity to be a first round pick was there, and another season wasn't probably going to move the needle as much. I don't know if that's what that would look like for Kyle McCord. He's probably in a position to be more patient. We'll see. He's also will have spent 3 years in the program. So is that enough? Yep. He hasn't even started as a full-timer yet for Ohio State, so we're getting ahead of the road there. But
are you surprised there's no Kyle cards in here? I mean, he was in the Leaf set from the 2021 Leaf set, right? But
he has some Leaf autos,
which we are all owners of, I think, right?
I have several.
I sold one.
When?
Last summer.
Oh, quick flip.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be more. I mean, there's
faith in the West Jersey guy, huh?
That's right. If he was from Philly, I would have kept it.
Yeah, I mean, there's also Travion cards out there. We didn't see any of the Julian Fleming.
I got a Julian base.
Oh, okay, Julian base. But yeah, no surprise. Bill got the best cards again. The man is on fire lately. But we appreciate, as always, Card Collector 2 for letting us do something a little bit different and have some fun talking about the NFL draft. There's going to be more coverage of that on the podcast. The podcast daily will be interesting as we break down what happens in the first round with some Freaky Friday stuff tomorrow morning. And then, as Bern mentioned, we'll be out in St. Louis to see what happens with one Buckeye, specifically Cameron Brown. So thanks again to Card Collector 2. Go down to Grove City if you want to get into the hobby or stay in the hobby, either one, and get $10 off. Mention the podcast. Please do that and say hi to our friends down there. For Bern and Bill, I'm Austin. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the podcast.